Welcome back. The House releasing the text of 3 foreign aid bills totaling more than $95 billion. It sends $60 billion to Ukraine, an additional $26 billion to Israel, and $8 billion for Taiwan. Speaker Mike Johnson also announcing the Rules Committee will release text on a border security bill, which will include measures such as remaining in Mexico, fixing the broken asylum and parole processes, and rebuilding portions of the wall. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says support is growing for her motion to oust the Speaker. She posted this on X. Chuck Schumer bragged on the Senate floor about Speaker Johnson giving Democrats everything they want in the foreign war bill. And for Ukraine, Johnson is not our Speaker. He is theirs. The question is, how much longer will our conference tolerate this? But Speaker Johnson is not backing down.
Why are you willing to risk losing your job over this Ukraine funding?
Listen, my philosophy is you do the right thing and you let the chips fall where they may. Look, history judges us for what we do. This is a critical time right now, a critical time on the world stage.
Joining me now is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, a member of the House Financial Services and Oversight Committees. He's also a member of the House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to all of this?
Look, my reaction is simple, Maria. This bill shouldn't pass the House, and for one very important reason. First and foremost, let's take Israel. We should support Israel. That funding should go through the House. That's something myself and a lot of other members have been imploring House leadership to do for a month now. We could have done it cleanly for a month, sent that to the Senate. If Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden want to veto that funding, that's on them. But Israel's our ally in the region, one of the longest-standing allies in our country's history. We should stand behind them. When it comes to Ukraine, we've already sent $114 billion to Ukraine. Joe Biden is the one who has basically frittered that money away with no strategy, with delays on delivering material, no clear mission. And so what House leadership has told Republicans for about 8 to 9 months now is that there will be no more new Ukraine funding until we secure our southern border. We're being told this week that no, we have to give up that. We can't do it because of what's happening in Ukraine to this point. And I've told the leadership that the southern border is just as much of a national security crisis as is what's happening in Ukraine. We have to take care of home first. And once you do that, the votes would be there to support Ukraine. But the Speaker and the leadership made a decision to not follow through on that promise that they made to House Republicans, and that puts us at the impasse we're at right now.
So is Speaker Johnson being tough enough?
Honestly, Maria, I do not believe that he is. I think that this bill is essentially the Senate package just chopped up into 3 so members can vote for each package, but then they're going to merge them back together and send it to the Senate. Well, that's just the Senate deal right there. There has been no consequence for the Democrat Senate or for the White House for leaving our border open, for allowing fentanyl to flow through our streets, to allow now an uprising of measles and mumps and tuberculosis, diseases that we have essentially eradicated in the United States. Those have come back, not to mention what's happened to the inner cities in our country that are overrun and that are overwhelmed by this illegal immigrant crisis created by Joe Biden and his administration. And so House Republicans have been very clear for a long time up until this week. Secure our border and we can talk about funding. But to do this the way it's happening isn't going to work. And Maria, let me also say this. The loan portion of this that was promised, when you read the text, 50% of the proceeds can be forgiven by Joe Biden this November. That's not a loan, Maria. That's foolishness. You're basically telling us, oh, we're going to have Ukraine pay us back. But when you read the actual text, you see that that's not going to happen. I was a banker before I was a politician, Maria. We would never write a loan covenant like that in the real world, but that happens far too often in Washington.
Yeah, I saw that the president could actually forgive the loan altogether. So why are we making believe it's a loan when it's actually could be forgiven? You know, I mean, look, this debate is being talked about all over, not just the House, but the Senate as well. People are worried in the Republican Party that you are once again getting rolled over and you are still on Nancy Pelosi's budget. You still have not secured the border. I spoke with Kentucky Senator Rand Paul about it as well. It was the first time he spoke out against the House Speaker with me on Sunday. Watch this.
You know, I haven't supported foreign aid really in my tenure in the Senate, but I did support foreign aid that was paid for to Israel not too long ago. This was passed in the House, and then every Democrat in the Senate voted against foreign aid that was paid for. What I would say to Speaker Johnson is hold your ground, show some cojones, show some intestinal fortitude, for goodness sakes. You've already passed aid to Israel. Tell Chuck Schumer when he's ready to take it up, and it's going to be paid for.
So what's going on? You know, the speaker also went forward with FISA, even though it was against many Republicans' wishes that an amendment for a warrant before spying on American citizens was in there. And he didn't force the amendment for the warrant. What's going on with Speaker Johnson in these meetings when you're not there? I mean, why is he doing flip-flops?
Look, I can't speak to what's happening in the meetings when I'm not in the room. When I happen to be in some of these rooms, I think the speaker's trying to get all the information to make a decision. But I'm just going to be blunt with you, Maria. I think he's getting bad advice from his team, from his staff. I think there is bad advice coming from other members on Capitol Hill who are trying to accomplish the thing that they're trying to accomplish and not looking at the totality of all of the issues, not just facing Republicans, but facing the American people. And last but not least, on Capitol Hill, this isn't really about politics. It is about bare knuckles negotiations. And so you got to be able to look other people in the eye and demonstrate to them that you are serious about your position and that nothing else can move forward until that position is either addressed or at a minimum seriously debated. All you have to do is look at what the Senate did yesterday with Mayorkas. They refused to have even serious debates on the Senate floor about these issues. So to ignore the will of members in the House simply because you want to protect Joe Biden is not good enough for me, and it's not good enough for many Republicans in the House of Representatives.
So is Mike Johnson going to make it?
I'm not sure. Look, I think a motion to vacate in the grand scheme is not a good idea right now. I do not support that. But I'm telling you, there are real issues here that can be resolved. But what it's going to take is a much more strategic view of how you're going to move through these issues. Like I said at the top, Maria, we need to take care of Israel. That needs to happen immediately. If Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden decide that they want to table that, like Senator Paul just said in your clip, or they want to veto that, then that is an issue for the president and his party. It is not an issue for Republicans because Americans stand behind Israel. So Joe Biden's got a decision. What's more important, voters in Michigan or what all the voters in the United States are asking for and our ally in the Middle East who has stood by us through thick and thin?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me that the Republicans can't move the needle on this at all. And then, you know, we all see the impact of the wide open border. We're all living it in our cities, seeing migrant crime, and yet Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer ended the impeachment trial of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas yesterday. Even before it began, Democrats quickly voted to rule both articles of impeachment unconstitutional, and the trial ended in just under 4 hours. So here we are, once again, watching the Democrats running the show, despite the fact that the American people are getting impacted by this bad policy. Is there anything more you can do?
Honestly, not without House leadership. House leadership at this point has a decision to make. Are they going to stand firm for the American people, or are they not? Are they going to fall to the whims of the bureaucrats and the talking heads up here on Capitol Hill who always have a different view of what's happening in the real world? Or are they going to do what needs to be done to preserve and protect this nation? Our border situation is the most major national security crisis in the country outside of our debt position. And quite frankly, House leadership has not done anything substantial on either one of those issues.
Yeah. All right. We will be watching this.